All right. Well, we'll just kick off our portion, I guess, and obviously do what we can to answer any questions if you guys have any going forward. But uh, one, I guess I just appreciate you guys inviting us to, help get this going and getting going in the right direction and kicking it off for Lewis and Clark County, but and obviously the city of Helena. Um, but so I don't know if I've had a chance to, speak to any of you individually or if you've seen me speak a little bit, whether it's at, some county meetings or across the state or whatever. I've obviously kind of been all over trying to help organize this. And so I'll kind of just introduce myself. Obviously, my name's Rusty Gackle. I'm the executive director for the Montana Opioid Abatement Trust. This is Steph McGowan. She's my director, our programming director. And so we're kind of a two-man show as we kind of kick this off and get everything going for the state, and we've been kind of working in the background, putting a lot of different pieces together. And so I'm gonna just kind of do a really high level overview of kind of where we came from and where we're at and what it looks like for your guys' abatement region. And in the meantime, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to interrupt or put a hand up or do whatever just so I can visibly see. So I'll stop talking and and I'll answer the question along the way. Does that work for everybody?
Sure, sure.
Okay, perfect. All right, so the Montana Opioid Abatement Trust is obviously a trust that's set up for multi-state settlements for the opioid problem that we're facing, and these are settlements that have been going on or cases that have been going on for well over 7 or 8 years. There's a few or more that are going to be trickling in and probably going through this process. But right now we have I think five, six, seven, I think seven, maybe eight cases that are kind of starting to happen, and we're starting to receive funds for. Um, the first ones were the what we call the distributors, and there's three companies that were kind of involved in that, and then Janssen and Janssen or J&J. And then the last ones that you guys probably received the most recent documents for, which was probably last summer, would have been like CVS, Walgreens, Allergen, Teva. Um, I'm trying to think of who else I would have missed on that. Walmart, and they all have different payment schedules. They all fall under kind of a different um, what would we say, just a different payout and a different kind of settlement. They all have used a similar kind of the distributors as a shell as they've kind of went through this process. Um, Montana, our structure for the trust and for the funds that I say are coming to the geographical state of Montana are broken up into three different pools. And so I'll start with the 15% is goes to the state. And so the state has gets a direct distribution of 15%, and that's split between DOJ and DPHHS. And so they have I guess authority along with obviously the state legislature to determine where those funds are going to go. Um, then there's 15% that goes directly to each um, individually, I guess, not a region, but subdivision. Sorry, that was the word I'm looking for here. And so each subdivision gets a direct distribution of 15% as well. So you guys should have already seen those as any kind of distribution comes in, that 15% gets, distributed directly out and going to your individual subdivision. And then the other third and the last pool is the 70%, which is the portion that we're involved with here. And that's going to be the majority of the conversation here is the 70% that comes through the Montana Opioid Abatement Trust. And so there's 9 metro regions and 5 multi-county regions. So Montana is broken up into 14 different abatement regions. And any of this information, if this is brand new to you and you haven't had the opportunity to kind of review this, we have a website, montanaopioid.org, and almost most or all this information is on that. And you can kind of see a map and see how the regions are broken up. And we've sent out multiple different communications. So hopefully you've had an opportunity to kind of see what those look like. Um, so anyways, that kind of gives you, yeah, perfect. There's the map right there. Um, so it kind of gives you an idea of what we're looking at and what we're kind of working with. And so these funds, the 70% that we talk of, and we talk of Lewis and Clark and this, the city of Helena, you're appropriated a certain portion of the 70% or this fund down to the 10th decimal. And so we and Steph try to make clear is the trust is a more or less somewhat of a holding account for the abatement regions. Obviously, it's an accountability and making sure the funds are kind of getting used appropriately. All these funds have to be used through what we call Exhibit E or opioid remediation uses, and you can get that off of our website as well. That's probably one of the biggest and most important pieces is, we have, as part of the settlement agreement on the national level, we have to make sure that these funds are used appropriately. And inside of that document, which I think is 12 to 14 pages long or thereabouts, gives us an idea of what these funds can be used for, what they can't be used for, and what falls underneath what we call opioid remediation uses. And it's pretty broad, but it definitely is something that's going to be important for this governing body for Lewis and Clark and the city of Helena to have an understanding of what that is as you start to receive grant applications so that you can determine whether those grant applications fall underneath the approved use. What we're asking and what we're looking at is with you guys right now is we need, we're looking at you guys just obviously creating your governing body, which is obviously what we've done at this point in time. And you guys have done, you've already put that form together, but oh, I'm sorry, did you have something?
Nothing on our end.
Okay, sorry. I just searched something. I just couldn't see it. I just see someone's computer right now, so I didn't see if somebody put their hand up or something. But anyway, we just need to see the bylaws, and I don't know if Steph's already received those or not. We needed to know who you're electing as the chairperson for the committee. What your process is and how you want, how often you're going to meet. When you're going to meet, just so you understand, the advisory council for the trust is meeting quarterly. We'll review applications quarterly, and kind of going over those, so the other, what we're looking for is, what your funding priorities are for the region, whether what your meetings are going to look like, and if they're going to be public meetings, which, we aren't here to tell you what you have to do or can't do or anything like that. I mean, obviously, I think it'd be important that you probably do have public meetings, but that's up to me, ultimately up to you guys. And what else is I trying to make sure is the biggest thing for us, and just so you understand our process, what we're doing at the trust is we're centralizing a lot of the administrative or expenditures and just the processes. And so what our main goal and what we're primarily doing here is, if you go to our montanaopioid.org, there's a portal up in the top right-hand corners for anybody that wants to, submit an application. We're taking those applications from start to finish. And so we're just making sure the application process, we're helping them get through the process, answering any questions they have as they're filling out the application, getting it to the end to where at that point in time, we're just going to distribute those to these governing bodies of these abatement regions. And so our process is just making sure that they get through that, and get it, that it's complete when we send it to you guys. At that point in time, it's ultimately up to you guys of what you want to do with that grant application. If you feel like it's a need for your region, it's something you guys want to do or approve. If you guys, at that point in time, once you guys get that, what we would need to know on our end is we would need minutes or something. And so if you want to approve a grant application, if you would send us, hey, this was our meeting, here are our minutes, and we approved XYZ grant, and this is what we want to approve. And so at that point in time, it would come back to the advisory council. And what our responsibilities or the advisory council responsibility at that point in time is really twofold. And it's just going to be, one, make sure that, okay, you have enough funds to be able to approve that grant at that point in time. And then two, similar to what you guys will be doing at the same time, which is, making sure it fits into Exhibit E, which is opioid remediation uses. And so that's the primary responsibility of the advisory council at that point in time when they're reviewing. And just a minute ago, you actually had up there, and if you want to pull up the process, the grant application process, we can kind of just review that really quick because it was on the screen, but I don't see it anymore. But at that point in time, it's, if it's approved, then obviously we would go to the grant funding process. And so we would reach out at the trust level, we would reach out to the grantee and go through the contracting process. And so we make sure that they fill out the contract and what our requirements are and, all those kind of mechanisms. And then generally in about a 3-month window is when we'd start the funding process. If for some reason the advisory council has a question on, hey, we're concerned about it, maybe it doesn't fit into opioid remediation use or something like that, they'd kick it back to you for the question, and then it just kind of recircles through the process again. And so overall, it's fairly, I think, straightforward. Hopefully it's not, confusing to anybody, but if there's any questions, please just let me know.
Yeah. How long would a process like this take?
How long would a process like this take? Is that the question?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the advisory council meets once a quarter, and so, inside of that, it's hard to say depending on when you guys meet, but let's just say, let's say you guys are meeting a week before, the advisory council. And so once we get a completed application, we're not holding those. As soon as it's done on our end, we're sending it to this governing body. Now, however you guys want to do your scoring or that mechanism, that's completely up to you. But at that point in time, once you guys meet and let's say you get it approved and you decide, hey, this is a grant that we want to approve and we determine our area. Yes, we want to fund this grant. So you guys meet, let's say the week after, let's just say that's the way it works, is the advisory council meets. Now, let's say 2 weeks actually, because we want to get those to them, usually a week in advance, so they have an opportunity to review them at the same time. And so the advisory council would get together, they'd see all the ones that come back from the abatement regions that are marked for approval. We would go through that at that point in time. And, if, like I said, if their funds are available and it meets, the opioid remediation uses, then at that point in time, they would approve it as well. And so I would say it's another 3-month window to go through the contracting process at that point in time. And then that's when it would get funded. So depending on obviously when your region is meeting and how far in advance, if someone, finalize an application, and you guys don't meet, however long you guys meet from there, obviously there's that time window. But on our end, once the advisory council gets it back and approves it, it's about a 3-month window is what I would think before, the grant would be funded.
That's long. Thank you.
Yep. So you will see at this point in time, I don't know if you've had a chat, at this point in time, you probably haven't had any applications sent to you, but we have 2 standalones, applicants that are going to be sent to you guys now that we have a governing body for you all. And so you'll get an email from Steph, and I don't know, Steph, have they already gotten this or not? I can't remember. I apologize.
No, I haven't sent it yet, but probably soon after, next couple of days, you'll get an email it'll come from Foundant. That's our software company. And it'll give you, in your packet I sent yesterday, there's a little quick 6-minute video tutorial on kind of how you can score your applications. It's just a tool for you guys. Those scorings don't really mean anything on our end. It's just kind of a tool for you individually to score your applications, and then you guys will meet as a group and go over those and decide. But I will send that out to you guys in the next couple of days. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me and I can help you through that process the first time. But you guys do have 2 applications for Lewis and Clark that are ready to be reviewed.
We gotta get a gear then.
Steph, this is Ann McCauley, County. Our in the city is the same. Our IT filter is hitting a lot of things that they recognize as not usual or normal. So when you found it, will you also just send a separate email to each committee member, letting them know that they should look for it, and if they don't see it, look in spam.
Yep. You bet. Yep, I can do that.
Okay. So I don't know if you guys recently, Steph had sent out an email to y'all. You should have received a kind of a chart of what the 3 years looks like for funding that our expectation on distributions from these different settlements. So right now for this year, Lewis and Clark, City of Helena have a little over $600,000 available. Year 2 will be about 400,000. Year 3 about another 400,000, a little over. And that just gives you all an opportunity to have an understanding of okay, what are we looking like, and what are we going to have like a runway, I guess, for approval of grants as they start coming in, and what the funding is going to look like. These settlements are, they vary different on years, and so what I mean by that is, like, the distributor settlement has an 18-year payout. There's a couple of them that have 11 and 14-year payouts. Walmart's one and done. So that, over time, the payments are going to get smaller. And so we just are trying to create an understanding to give you like, based on the schedule that we're getting from what is Brown Greer, which is the national administrator of these settlements. This is what it looks like, and what we're going to be able to get to each abatement region. But this will give you an opportunity to understand, okay, what are we going to be able to fund, and give an understanding of how much money we're going to be receiving over that period of time in the next couple of years. So you don't, we all know it takes a lot of money to stand up programs, and then, to get them rolling to where they're actually, having an effect and making a difference. And we don't want to get in a position where, you're funding something $100,000 to stand it up, and then in year 2 you don't have enough money to fund the stability of the program. And so this will help give you that kind of window and understanding. There are going to be what we call multi-abatement region applications. You're not individually siloed. Now, I would highly recommend that a lot of these are going to requests, I guess, would come from this governing body, in the sense of, if you're working with your health departments and your community in your area, what you guys need. And so whether it's, you guys having those conversations and saying, hey, you guys should request these funds. We think this is a program that, we as a group want to expand or start up or whatever. Now, there's going to be organizations from the outside that are, we're not siloed. Yellowstone, or not, Yellowstone, but Lewis and Clark County doesn't live by itself. It supports surrounding areas, and so on and so forth. And so you're going to get requests from different grantees that are going to say, hey, we were requesting funds from Lewis and Clark County, as well as Abatement Region 4 or Abatement Region 5. And so when you get that request, you're going to see that they're requesting funds from both areas. And at that point in time, that's why it's very important for us to have, an understanding of who the chairperson is, so that we can have and make sure that you guys have the ability to communicate across abatement regions to say, hey, this is something we're interested in. This is something that we think would be great for us, and it would support us. And so what if we funded 60% of this and you guys funded 40%? That's going to be a very important piece, because we already have a fair amount of those. We have a fair number of abatement regions that haven't formed a governance structure at this point in time. I wouldn't say a lot, but I think we're down to, is it 2 or 3, Steph? Is that right?
We got 4.
4? Okay.
Yeah, almost there.
Yeah, most of them they're almost complete. They're just more formalizing who their people are and that. So, but anyway, that'll be a big and important piece to be able to provide, like, who and what regions you guys are communicating with, is because we already seen a fair amount of these multiple, I guess, multiple regions that are multiple applicants that are crossing over to multiple regions. And so you'll start getting those once we actually have all the abatement regions in place, especially if obviously they're requesting funds from an abatement region that doesn't have a governing body yet. We can't send it to them. So right now, your guys' area, you have 2 standalone applications. And so the first one is from the sheriff's office. It's its intention Center Medical Provider Program. They have a 5-year request. You'll be seeing that one come across. Helena Public School District Prevention and Early Identification Referral Project. And then, like I said, on the multi-regions, you have about 10 applications, I think, at this point in time where they're requesting funds from you, as long with multiple other areas. So that's kind of a big picture view right now, and kind of gives you an understanding of where we're at and how much money is available to your area, which is probably one of the biggest and most important pieces. But with that, does anybody have any questions for me at this point in time?
Are the allocations based on fiscal years or calendar years?
Fiscal years. So right now, it's I think it says at the time, present to June 2025. And just so you understand, if you guys have any money, it'll roll over. For some reason, if let's say you guys have 600,000, you approve 500,000, obviously the 100,000 additional rolls over into the next year. So it's, July to June.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Is there an advisory council for each region in addition to each county?
No, I don't. I guess I'm not sure I follow the question. So right now, each abatement region has their own governing body, which is what you guys are for Lewis and Clark County. There's the Montana Opioid Abatement Trust has an advisory council board, and that's of 10 people. And so those 10 people are they are helping us, I guess, manage the Montana Opioid Abatement Trust and overseeing the funds as they come into the trust, as we start to distribute them out to these individual regions. And so when I try to express, because one of the biggest things I guess that we've had is, these funds are ultimately owned in whatever, not by the state government of Montana, but the geographical state of Montana. And so they're your funds. And the trust is just has a responsibility to make sure that, hey, it meets these couple requirements. That's what the advisory council is for. But it's your governing body that determines, okay, this is what Lewis and Clark, this is what we want to spend our funds on.
Rusty, it might be helpful to describe the metro regions versus the non-metro region abatement.
So who's that? Like,
So the metro regions, these were all kind of broken down in some mathematical algorithm that, from the national settlement when they were getting together. Obviously, they've been working on this for years to determine, okay, what makes a metro region versus what makes a multi, county or multi-region. And so if you had a certain population threshold or a certain number of beds or certain requirements, that's what would allow a city, I guess, to become its own subdivision. And then inside of that county, the same kind of principle. And so like I said, we have 9 metro regions. Not every single one of them has a city that qualifies inside. So like, for instance, Silver Bow, Butte, Silver Bow, or Valley, they don't have a city, but they have their own metro region, their own standalone region based on the algorithm or the population density that was put together. And when these national settlements were getting I guess arranged at the multi-state level. So you can look at that map and you can see region 1 has 17 counties in it. And so each individual county has a breakdown of percentage of what is to come to them. But when we were organizing this MOU with the different I guess regions and in cities and counties that made up these subdivisions, this map is kind of broken down. I don't know if you're all familiar, but it's broken down based on health districts mainly to try to keep the continuity and lines. And so this region is 17 counties, and so what's done is those funds are pooled together to say, okay, they've created an individual governing body for that region 1, and they have their own allotted funds down to the 10th decimal that's going to come into the trust. And then that governing body works together to decide, okay, hey, these are where we're going to spend our funds in our abatement region or across our abatement region lines, with whether it be Region 3, Yellowstone County, Region 2, or whatever. So metro regions, everybody's, metro regions, like I said, they cross over the threshold to become an individual subdivision. And inside with the city, if they have a qualifying city as well. And those funds are pulled together and, work alongside one another in that, with this governing body that you guys have put together. Does that explain that a little bit?
In Region 4, and this is Wes Weiss from the city of East Helena. Region 4, it would exclude Butte, Silverbow, Lewis and Clark, and Gallatin. Is that correct? So the folks that are over Region 4 are people from all of the other counties, excluding those 3 metros.
Correct. Yeah. So the governing body for Region 4 would exclude Gallatin, Silverbow, and Lewis and Clark. So Region 4, the multi-county, includes everybody else, in that region. They have their own governing body. Now, it's a prime example, right? Gallatin still works a lot with Park and so on and so forth. And, Lewis and Clark with Jefferson and so on and so forth. But yes, your money that you're pulling from is individually and that's allotted within your own governing body or your region. And so Region 4, the rest of those counties forming a multi-county abatement region together.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
This is Ann McCauley from the county. In the applications that were submitted for the multi-region, did they break down their requests for each region or each abatement?
No, they haven't. We didn't put it in there to where they had to break out. I mean, and we kind of went back and forth on that. And I think that's an understanding of it's kind of sixes in my opinion. I can do that. And then they're kind of guessing and progressing like, okay, we want to request X, from, for example, you guys, we'd say, Region 4, we have a request for 200,000 and we're going to do 100,000 for Region 4. And we're going to ask Lewis and Clark to kick in 100,000. That is not on the application. It's really just, you are going to see that the box checked is going to say, we're requesting 200,000 is our grant request. And we're going to request it from Region 4 and Lewis and Clark. And so, now that can be changed if for some reason we see that this is beneficial and, we can update these grant requests. But that's a communication that I kind of want to have with the abatement regions, to say, because I need, more importantly, I need to be able to have these regions communicate across regional lines, because I know it's not individually siloed and you're not you don't live by yourself over there. And I know Helena serves a greater area, just like Yellowstone County serves a greater area than their own county. And so it's very important that once these regions are formed that we have, communication across, between the chairpersons and so on and so forth. So you can say, hey, I need to reach out to Region 4 and say, this is something we are interested in, or it's something we're not interested in. And if we are, what portion of it we're willing to fund and so on and so forth.
See, this is Amanda with the City of Helena. I have a question related to that. So I've had a conversation with Ann, and just so you're aware, we've got the city clerk and our city attorney here. It's our, at least from the City of Helena's standpoint, it's our recommendation to this group that we do hold public meetings, given that we have 3 elected officials and 2 appointees of the elected bodies. This type of a situation where you have a multi-region and you're relying on the council, or excuse me, the chairperson to be reaching out to the other regions to have this communication, how I guess would you envision that working in terms of maintaining open meetings, keeping the other committee members in the loop? What's kind of the vision for how that would work?
I mean, the hard answer for that a little bit is it's going to be a little bit up to individual abatement regions. I mean, we are more than willing to help facilitate those conversations. And obviously, whether it's, once we send the application out, we are letting each abatement region know, hey, you're receiving this grant request, but it's a multi-county grant request. And I only say that because, I can't, at our level, we're not going to, lack of a better word, I can't make you obviously work with another region. Obviously, I'm going to do what I can, the best of my ability to make sure that, okay, hey, I have a lot of communication with all the different regions. I mean, that happens a lot. And so we also are trying to formulate, once we get chairpersons or, from each region, to have some kind of communication via email or, and even an annual kind of meeting at worst to make sure that these conversations are happening. Now, you're talking about public meetings and whether they're discussing those kind of things. Now that's not going to be a vote, or that's not going to be, I guess, information on what the grantee and if it meets the requirements for your region. But those communications are obviously going to have to happen potentially outside of just this individual meeting. Now, if that doesn't meet requirements or doesn't meet the ability for your public meeting, then I guess we'd have to facilitate something or kind of continue to address that. So if there's something that we can do on our end, I'm open to the conversation of what we can do to try to help facilitate that. But at this time, I guess we haven't gotten there.
Thank you.
Can I add to that? I think it's that's public. I would say that similar to how Billings, Yellowstone County does theirs in section 9, but I also would say it would be the city of East Helena, city of Helena, and the county possibly's responsibility to post that publicly as we would post public meetings otherwise.
Right.
So that if anyone did want to participate, they had that ability, whether it be on the website or putting it on the doors of the building, whatever, however we typically would post a public meeting notification, that's done the same way.
Yeah, and we're gonna post, once you guys formulate, okay, this is what our schedule is gonna be, and I understand sometimes those can change and get updated, but we're gonna post those on our website as well. So like under your abatement region, it'll say, Lewis and Clark County's next meeting is July 27th at whatever time at this location. So that way, if anybody needs to come or anything like that. I know Yellowstone County, Steph, and I don't remember what they updated their I guess policies and procedures or their bylaws to allow for like working group and then a public meeting portion. And so
They're gonna have like an executive portion, and then they'll have it open to the public, and that's, at that time, they're going to invite in any applicants that they want to ask more questions about their applications on, or basically anyone to the public. And as a service to them, like on the Moat website, we will post that on our website as well. So anything you guys want posted on the website, we can put under your region for you.
Who is responsible for keeping the grantees accountable as far as spending the money accurately and a final report? And if it's not being spent right, can you get money back or?
Back? It's kind of going to be a joint effort. We've had this conversation with multiple different regions, and so we will have a contract. Obviously, that's gonna fall a fair amount on us to be able to have the reporting mechanisms in place. But at that point in time, we're going to be receiving them and sending them to you all to make sure, hey, did these meet? If hey, they said they were going to increase their service by 3 beds, or they were going to do whatever, did they actually do that? And so we're going to provide, the reporting mechanisms, and we have certain requirements that, okay, we need this, whether it's annually or biannually, where was the money spent, P&L or some information like that. And if there's something else that you guys want in addition, that's perfectly fine for your abatement region to say, hey, this contract works for us, but we want to add X, Y, and Z requirements, and we will work from there. With that contract, I guess with that grantee. But at the end of the day, it's going to come back to you guys to say, hey, especially if you guys have, you approve a grant request and it's like, let's say, for example, one of them on your books right now is a 5-year program. Well, you get 2 years into it and you're just like, hey, this isn't, we're not seeing a difference. We're not, we don't feel like, it's accomplishing what we thought or what it would accomplish. And so at that point in time, you can choose to say, we're not going to continue to go, fulfill year 3, 4, and 5 or whatever. But that's ultimately up to you guys.
And then who's responsible for the accounting side?
The accounting,
The accounting.
yeah, we will have accounting for all the different funds for your region. So at any given time, we can tell you how much you have available, what you've already, hey, we've sent out 900 or $97,265 this year. You have X number of dollars left available. You've got 4 grants that have multi-years, so we've allocated these funds for these programs in year 2, 3, and 4. So this is how much you have left to spend in those years going forward, but that'll be our responsibility.
And the same financial reporting from the grantees will go through you as well?
Correct. Through us or to us and you at the same time, or whether it comes to us, then obviously we would distribute those to you.
But who's responsible for ensuring that the funding was spent properly? That would be you?
No, that would be your region at the end of the day.
Rusty, this is Amanda from the city. Is there a circumstance in which this group could decide, for example, with the 5-year grant request, that they would not entertain a multi-year grant, that they would grant funds year to year based on performance rather than signing off $600 for the sheriffs up front? They would
Correct.
a fresh look each year.
Yeah, and we don't plan on, I think it's the simple answer to your question is yes. You guys can, this is your governing body. You can make a determination on how you want it to function and how you want it to look. And you can say, yeah, okay, here's a 5-year program. We're not going to distribute obviously multi-years. We're only going to distribute 1 year at a time. That's our recommendation, and that's how we're going to be able to unravel those funds, so to speak. But yes, you can say, yes, this is a 5-year grant. We're only approving year 1, and then we will review it at the end of year 1 to see if year 2 gets approved. That's ultimately, yeah. And if you just are saying ultimately the same thing, we only accept 1-year grants, and you can come back and reapply for year 2.
Rusty, this is Wes Vicem from City of East Helena. Back to the accounting piece of it. If the cities and county are responsible, our region is responsible for the day-to-day financial reporting of these grantees, can a portion of this funding be used to offset staffing to account?
I'm gonna have to get back to you on that. I think there's, a lot of it, I guess when you say day to day, we're going to require the reporting requirements. And so however often, if you guys are saying, hey, we want this quarterly, and so the accountability of it, I guess I understand what you're saying, but and that comes back to whether we're saying, okay, this did get spent, in the right place, and this did you actually do what you say you were going to do with this grant, these funds. Now we are going to provide what request or what grant or what you want the grantee to be able to report back to you. We'll get that financial information and provide it to you, but it's ultimately your responsibility to review it to say, yes, this is what we want to do. Now, I'd have to review the MOU, and I apologize, I don't have it off the top of my head. There is a portion of the funds that can get spent on what is considered non-opioid remediation use, but it's very small, and we have to report that every single time. I don't know if this would fall into that. I'd have to talk to our attorneys for the trust to make sure. So before I answer that, I'd like to kind of make sure before I give you a wrong answer. How's that?
Thank you.
This is Ann McCauley, just as a follow-up to that. It was my initial understanding that the trust was going to do the grant award or contract with each of the applying entities that were awarded.
Yes. Yep.
Is that correct? Okay,
Yes.
so that contract's gonna be between the trust
Okay.
and the organization. The
Yes.
governance committee's not involved with that.
And that does answer my question then, because
Yeah.
there are day-to-day questions that grantees may have about spending things individually, and if that then
Oh,
consumes.
yeah, no, they're definitely coming back to us. I apologize if I misunderstood that. I guess I was thinking, I'm talking more about, at after we gather and answer, they contact us, we work with them, through the contract process, through their day-to-day, hey, these is what we want to use the funds on, our mission changed or slightly changed, but this is still what we're using the funds for. Yeah, we're working with them, but at the end of the day, we're going to be providing that information back to you, whether it's annually or biannually or whatever, for this governing body to have an opportunity to say that's not what we wanted, or yes, this continues to meet the goals that we feel are necessary, and so we're going to continue to fund that, I guess.
This is James Petrovich. So in terms of like ongoing oversight, I mean, even around like the implementation of a project that's been approved, will you be, as the kind of the contractor, will you be managing and monitoring that, or will we wait a whole year to hear that maybe the train went off the rails and things aren't working the way they're supposed to? Or, I mean, is there like a more kind of ongoing monitoring that you would do on some of these?
I mean, yeah, we're going to obviously be in contact with them, and that's part of the contract agreement to say these are the requirements that we need these reports. A lot of them are going to be, I think, quarterly. I don't know if they're monthly or not. I mean, but like I said, if you feel like there's something specific that you guys want a part of that contract, we're more than willing to add that. I mean, these are, like I said, the trust is somewhat of a whole, like we're holding your funds, but at the end of the day, you guys have determined what you want. And I know the contract is with the trust. So yes, that's part of our responsibility to alleviate, administrative expenses for Lewis and Clark County. But if there's something specific that you're saying, hey, we want these reports every time we meet, that's absolutely something we can provide.
And these grants are a lump sum, not reimbursable, is that correct?
Annually?
Well, a lump sum, like they apply for $100,000 and you write them a check for $100,000, or is, like, I just got a mini grant from MDT and it's reimbursable. So I have to expend and then
Yeah.
ask for reimbursement.
It's a lump sum, yes.
This is Tom Rolfe. Do you have regular meetings established for the statewide organization at this point?
Yeah, they meet once a quarter.
But
So I
what
think
do you the actual set?
I'm sorry?
Do you have the actual dates set?
The next one is July, 18th?
The next one is July 18th. We don't have them set out. We do them at the next meeting. We'll schedule our next meeting just to get everybody. But our next one is July 18th, and we will post that on the website as well.
So that it seemed from what you're saying that we need to be getting a couple things in place before that July meeting and maybe reviewing the two applications that are there and moving forward with that.
Yeah, I think that would be best. I mean, like I said, their responsibility obviously is more of just making sure you have funds available and that obviously it meets the opioid remediation use. So, but if they have, I would say no later than 2 weeks prior to that meeting, as long as you guys have the opportunity to meet, look at your requests or, the grants that you guys want to, whether you approve or you have more questions, so you can put them on hold and you can contact the grantee to say, hey, we'd love to have you come in and, make sure and better understand the application. But yeah, anytime, if you give them 2 weeks, that way when they meet and if it's something you guys have approved, they can go through the approval process, and then we can reach out to the grantee and go through the contracting process.
Another question. It would seem we need to get that, but the bylaws set, the of a officers. What other things am I missing that need to be done between now and July?
Those are probably the big ones, just your bylaws, electing the chairperson, any kind of, letting us know what your process is and for, your meetings, if you're gonna set your schedule out, or if you just wanna post, hey, the next meeting is this date, or if it's gonna be the second Tuesday of every other month, or however, we'll get that posted on our website. Mm, So that stuff will go on the Moat website. So those would be the biggest things for us. Is there anything else I'm missing, Steph? I'm trying to think here.
No, I don't think so. And your bylaws, they don't have to be, we have a variety of bylaws from other regions. Some are very simple. The minutes from their meeting, electing a chairman, their quorum of how they're voting. Those types of things. Some are a little bit more in depth. If you guys want me to send you a couple examples, I can, but I'm sure you can do that. So I'd say electing a chairman in your bylaws would be the biggest. And then once those are complete, you guys will be good to start reviewing and scoring applications.
Like I said, the biggest thing for us, once you guys, do have your meeting to go over your grant applications, is just sending us minutes of the vote or whatever, which ones you guys want to approve. And then if for any reason, you're denying an application or something like that, reaching out to that application to let them know, hey, this is, been denied or not a priority. We'll keep it on file, or, however, thing like that.
Rusty, this is Amanda with the City of Helena. To dovetail off of Commissioner Rolf's question, it might be helpful, I would imagine, maybe for the other regions and such as well, if those meetings of the MOAT were established as a set date, maybe the third Thursday of the month or whatever in that quarter, whenever that quarter falls. It would be helpful for us to build a timeline so that we on our end would be able to know how much time we're going to need to meet, to have staff establish minutes, to if we have to have applicants come back and provide a presentation to the group, then we can make sure that there's time built in our timeline as well, so that we're getting the information that you need well in advance of the state group meeting.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. We've been trying to establish them out forward. I think the first 2 or 3 that we've had here, they've just kind of fluctuated a little bit on what dates. But yeah, we're in the process. We agree with you in the process of trying to just set, hey, this is once a quarter. It's going to be this Thursday every 3 months or so on and so forth. But yeah, we'll get that formalized.
Thank you.
Anything else, or?
So it sounds like
I'll get back to you at once I get a chance to obviously get together with the trust attorneys to kind of address that the question that I wasn't able to answer directly. And if there's anything else that I can think of, I'll definitely, get some communication to you all as fast as possible.
Rusty, you answered it. We got it answered.
Okay.
Okay.
Rusty or Stephanie, is there anything else that you'd like to share with our group?
No, I think we're good. Like I said, just kind of big picture stuff a little bit. Obviously, there's going to be some more detail we come along here, and the contracting process. And once we start approving some and working with these grantees as they start moving forward. And so at that point in time, obviously, I'm sure things will come up. And so we'll do our best to provide any information there. At this point in time, I don't think anybody has had any drastic changes to any of the contract stuff, but we're still in the process of formalizing those and finalizing those with our attorneys here at the trust itself. So I don't think I have anything else. Steph, do you have anything?
I don't think so. I'll follow up with you guys from this meeting, just with the grant software link and a little bit again, how that works, just give you a little bit more detail on that. You can always reach out anytime too, if you have questions.
Is that good for everybody?
Sounds good.
All right. I appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
This is way too cumbersome.
Maybe members, if it might be helpful, again, there wasn't a lot of direct direction to us on how to operate this group. Obviously, in the vacuum, Anne McCauley and I just sort of stepped in. I would offer myself and the county to sort of tag team the administrative side of this in terms of creation of agendas, tracking of meeting minutes. We have already created on the city website a repository for those so that the public can come and find that information. We're also building kind of a library of the other documents that the state has been sending to us.
We wholeheartedly accept your.
Yeah, thank you.
We also can, the city of Helena has standardized bylaws that we have created for all of our administrative boards and committees. Some of it is specific to the city process, and we can kind of take that information out, but we can provide potentially an optional set of bylaws for you to look at and consider.
In Billings, the Yellowstone County ones are pretty good
Yeah.
as well.
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, and we looked at those as well. Danae, our city clerk, looked at those as well. There were a couple of things that we might want to
We can tweak into our.
to our processes. We want to make sure, knowing that, for example, the county is one of the applicants for this time around, we want to make sure that if say Commissioner Ralph recuses himself and we have a tie vote, that we've got, you know, stipulations within the bylaws to be able to handle that type of situation. So we'd be happy to provide an option. There's another and let's see, what else did I want to bring up? Was there anything else that we wanted to?
And I would like to also just offer Amy Thorngren in the city of East Helena has been and can continue. And I'll visit with Mayor in East Helena about it too. But if she can help, if she can back you up in some way, to make sure that we're contributing as well.
That's great.
Great.
Teamwork.
Yeah,
I love
add her to the
Makes the
rotation.
dream work.
I think we'll just kind of rotate is kind of what we're thinking. I'll kind of take the next one, and then if
Okay.
Amy is interested in taking the third.
Okay, I'll visit with
Wanna
her and
host
the
in
mayor.
East Helena?
I would love to.
Do you guys have the Zoom and all that capability? Okay.
In our council room? Yeah.
Okay. I did want to, I mentioned this to them. We did have some back and forth about whether or not these meetings needed to be open. It does sound like there are other groups that have chosen not to have open meetings. We internally, just amongst city staff and with Anne, given that there are elected officials on this group, are recommending to you that you would have open meetings. And again, we can help manage the notice and posting of agendas and all of that to make sure that we're complying there. If we go down that route, it might be helpful for the group to elect a chairperson today. That way we can have that person call for public comment right now. So that we make sure that we tick that box today as well. But that's up to the group to discuss if you'd like.
Not it.
And you feel comfortable with providing, I was kind of putting you on the spot here, but any hitches that you can see that?
No, yeah, and I'm very comfortable providing support as well.
Yeah,
on the
really,
county side.
really do appreciate that.
That's great. Yeah. Come on, people.
I would be happy to be in the rotation in the future. But this year I'm doing my own legislative run as well as city council and full-time job. I'm gonna have, I can't, but look forward to participating, and depending on what the future holds, would love to in the future, but not this year as chair. So looking to the three of you, I guess, since you had not.
Oh,
To get it kicked off, I'd be happy to help out.
There you go.
thank you.
All right.
Thank you,
I'll
Commissioner.
support, yep.
We wholeheartedly accept it.
Great.
So then you have to ask for public comments now,
Public.
then we'd be adjourned.
Ask for public comment,
Do we have to vote?
and I think we should talk, before we do, we should talk a little bit about next steps.
Mhm.
I think probably the bylaws would be the first thing. And would it be, what do you think, maybe could staff kind of help us put that together and get it out to us by early next week? And maybe we get together in about 2 weeks. Would that be reasonable?
Yeah.
To then formally adopt the bylaws.
Right.
Yeah, we can kind of work through it and get the bylaws adopted.
You bet.
And I think that way we can get up and running and start looking at things.
Yeah.
Because this
Okay.
process is already cumbersome. When you're taking 3-4 months just to approve something, that's way too long for me.
Yeah.
When we asking for money, we want it now. You know? That's how money works. You know, you don't wait
Good man.
3-4 months.
You bet. Yeah.
So,
It's not solving any of these problems we're dealing with if it's sitting there. So
right.
So do we need to
Okay.
formally adopt Commissioner Rolfe as our chair?
Yes.
Motion.
Yeah.
I'll move to elect Commissioner Tom Rolfe as our committee chair for the Lewis and Clark Metro Abatement Region Board Chair.
Second.
Second, third.
Four.
Unanimous.
All those in favor? Then-
Aye.
okay. All right, we'll work with you on that. And if you would it be is that a okay timeline with you to get something out to each of us by early next week, and then
Do we all have the ability to look at that?
let's
Yes.
take a look at our calendars.
Lovely. I would appreciate that.
And
It's tough to pin down.
if you'd guide us to get a meeting set up in about 2 weeks.
You bet.
2
Okay.
weeks from today, that's the 12th of December. Or June. June. 2 weeks is the 12th of June. So we're looking at it's Wednesday.
I know we've got a bunch of budget stuff going on, but
It is the
but I think
22nd.
Today's 22nd. Okay, so June 5th.
June 5th.
I would just throw out for everyone to consider, Mr. Mayor, you're out of town that week. We have preliminary budget adoption. It is election week. And we also have a consultant coming into town for the long range development plan. So that, I only throw that out on the city side.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a tough,
So
the 12th would be tough.
the first week in June that you said the 5th.
Yeah. But I was looking at the 12th.
Oh,
because
I
s-
thought you said
No, Colleen said
Yeah,
the 5th.
2 weeks is the 5th, but the 12th, if that works better.
Because I saw that on my calendar, so
Yeah,
I'm looking,
okay,
I'm like,
good.
Would 1:30 on the 12th work for everybody?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
do we think an hour will accomplish it, or do we need a little bit more?
Pardon me?
Do you think an hour will accomplish it, or we'll need to review
Yeah.
possibly two, if not, unless any more come in,
let's do an hour and
applications?
a half.
Yeah,
Is there a problem in reviewing the applications
Prior to.
prior to having process in place?
I don't think so.
Either.
And it sounds like she might even be able to get you
Yeah, if you can send
the
send the
applications
application.
within the next week or two, provided our ITMS doesn't block them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
that's what she said.
Amplifund or Fondant will send them to you, and then Fondant. And then you should be able to review them. And if you want to use that tool, that's in there.
We think we're all right. Okay.
Yeah,
So we probably better figure a couple hours in to get everything done. Is that
Okay,
reasonable? Okay.
We will have a commission administrative meeting at 4 o'clock.
Yeah, that's
that
4.
day.
So we can do from noon till 2.
I was thinking 1:30, but is that
Oh, yeah, fine. I'm fine with that.
1:30
Noon
to
to 1:30, yeah.
3:30 roughly on the
Okay,
12th?
let's shoot for that.
1:30 to 3:30.
As long as you don't all mind that I'll probably be coming in here to set up for administrative.
Don't worry, we're not talking anything classified.
And should we, okay, do we know if this room's available?
I'll have to.
I'm on it right now.
Do you want it? Okay, thank you. I was like, I don't trust my web app to be able to tell me accurately. if it's available.
It has Alex in here at 3:30, so we're available from 1 to 3.
Okay,
This is room 316.
326.
326.
And we'll send out a meeting invite as well.
all right. Is
All
there
right, what
anything
time
else?
did we decide? Because I heard a couple different things.
1:30
June
to
12th.
1:30 to 3:30, okay.
June 12th in this room.
Is there anything else we need to decide today?
Did we say 1:30 to 3:30?
Yes.
So our goal is to let's kind of work through the bylaws by email, try to work as much of it out as possible by email between now and then. And have a proposed bylaw set to.
One of the things that he mentioned was that if we had any specific priorities for this committee for funding, so if there was something specific that you all felt within our region, or our county, that was more of a priority than maybe kind of the basic, or if we want to leave it basic and then we can decide on that. That was the only other thing he had mentioned that we need to determine.
If
I
we're
would
gonna-
rather leave it kind of broad so that if
Yeah.
anything could fit in.
Anything can fit in, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say, if we're gonna try and do that, I would rather have an assessment to find out like what are the issues, because we don't wanna like keep throwing money at something over here that's not really an issue, even though we said we thought it was, but
Right.
looking at data.
Have you?
Let's leave it broad.
First school.
All right.
And Bill, the Yellowstone County one was fairly broad, and that to me is a better
Yeah.
route, but that's how I felt. I didn't want to.
Yeah, start out broad, and then if we need to rein it in later, we can.
Okay, Mr. Chair?
Is there anything else we need to accomplish?
Appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so
Kicked
much.
off and hopefully get it rolling and see if we can't solve a few problems. Is there any public comment? Any public comment? Don't
The
say anything.
chairperson, there is no one online.
All right. Well, if no public comment, we'll adjourn.
Thank you.
Jake,
Sure.
it's not about this.
Okay. Send my hellos to David.
I will, yep.
Appreciate you very much, and the MCA. Yeah, I hope they had a good weekend.
Yeah.
Lots going on.